Let's get something straight. Oof. I know this episode is not on schedule. There's a reason for that. I was doing the recording yesterday. I was waiting. I was doing the recording yesterday. And I don't even know if I am in line with the camera. Whatever. I did the recording yesterday. It's a good playoff prediction video. I still have my predictions, and I'm going to do that again. Just got to redo it. But recorded yesterday. And I realized, or whatever, I was listening back. As soon as I started playing, I realized that the wire from the mic got knocked off from when I was doing the previous episode, and I didn't realize to fix it. So I decided I didn't want to do it again yesterday. And I decided to just record it today and have it out for Thursday morning. Still going to be going with the playoff prediction. And yes, let me just, because I was also looking back at the footage yesterday, I'm going to sit up straight because now I don't have a beard. And before, I don't have a beard now because I shaved it for the playoffs. And I kind of yesterday I looked more like Burt Reynolds if he owned a gas station. Today it kind of looked like, what era is this shirt from? Like, I look like I should be in the 70s or 60s, sitting out front of a bar, sitting on a backwards chair, and just talking in Italian with other immigrants. Don't know if that makes sense to you, but it very much makes sense to me. I still feel naked without the beard because of this. Yeah. Gonna have a nice workout, but hey, we're getting the episode out now. So let's continue with this playoff prediction. I also feel like I should get rid of this chair. Not yet. Just give it time. But playoff prediction video. So let's get this going. Also, background, just Leaf jerseys up for today because after what happened last week, where it was one of the worst episodes I ever had to record. If you enjoyed that video, if you enjoyed the podcast last week, the video version of the podcast last week's episode, I have many words. Also, I have mango stuck in my teeth, and I can't get it out. Anyways, let's get right into this. It's 3 minutes in, is getting right into this. Anyways, let's get into this. So, this year's playoffs is going to be weird. Before I talk about my prediction or talk about my bracket, let me explain how this is going to work this year. If you don't know already, it was only inter-division games this year. So if you only played guys in your division, you played them 8 to 10 times this year. So going into the playoffs, the first 2 rounds are going to be within your division as well. So it is going to be the 1 to 4 seeds per division, then going into the conference championship. This mango in my teeth is really bothering me. So I got the inter-division games going into the first 2 rounds. Then when you go into the conference and the Stanley Cup Finals, I will say it's harder to say who are the better teams because we haven't seen them play. You can go off of ranking the division, power rankings, this and that, whatever, but we don't know how they're going to pan out. So, for example, in each conference, it's two different. The conferences work differently again this year. On one conference, I don't know if this is the East or West, whatever, but in one conference, you have the East Division versus the Central Division. And then on the other side of the conference, it's the North Division versus the Pacific Division. So the East and West Conference is kind of thrown out this year, just as the divisions. I assume that it's gonna go by the names of the trophies, other than the Eastern and Western Division. That's just how it is. But yeah, let's get into this. I'm gonna start off with the I'm gonna start off with one side and talk about the other side. I don't even know which conference is gonna be the conference for the trophies. Anyways, so I'm gonna start off with the East Division because that was one of the best divisions that we've seen in NHL history. Every team in there had a chance to make the playoffs, except for basically maybe the Sabres and the Devils. The Flyers too, because they stunk. But going into the season, basically every team in there, other than 2 teams, had a chance to make the playoffs, or there was a chance that they can make the playoffs. So the first round, for the rankings there, top 4, you got Pittsburgh number 1, Washington, Bruins, and then it was the Islanders. Then going to the Central Division, top 4 again. Carolina, Florida, Tampa, and Nashville. Then going into the the West Division, it is Colorado, Vegas, Minnesota, and St. Louis. And in the best division, if you ask me, the North Division, you got Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal. All the teams that are ranked, that is in the proper order as well, from 1st to 4th. Let's start off with the first series. We're going to be doing going back to the East Division with Pittsburgh and the New York Islanders. For that series, it's a close series. And by the way, the games have been played already. Most of these teams have played 2 games already. Some of the Edmonton and Winnipeg is going to be starting today, so by the time the episode comes out tomorrow morning, Winnipeg and Edmonton will have already played. But I'm going to be going off of what I thought before going into the playoffs. Some of these games, one or 2 games isn't a deal breaker, but I'm still going to be going with my bets because there's still a chance that they can work. So, or not my bets. I didn't bet on this. This is how I got it in my head. So going with Pittsburgh and the New York Islanders, I said that I'm taking Pittsburgh in that series. I said that it's going to be in 6 games. Can go 7 games, but I'm going to say 6 games. I think that Pittsburgh there's a reason why they're first. The Islanders are a good team. That's why I have it going to 6 games or 7 games, but I'm still going to stick with 6 games. It all depends on whether Pittsburgh's goaltending is good, because after Marc-Andre Fleury left, after their second Stanley Cup in a row in 2017, their goaltending, is in my mouth. Their goaltending hasn't really been consistent. Matt Murray has been shaky after winning the second Stanley Cup. Tristan Jarry looked like he was a starter last year. Then there was points this year where he was shaky, but then he looks really good. Then they got Casey DeSmith as the backup. It really all depends on the goaltending and when they get Malkin back, but I'm still going to go with Pittsburgh. Whether or not they have Malkin or shaky goaltending, they still have a good defense. They still have Sidney Crosby, and their depth is incredible, as usual. The Islanders are a good team. I'm still going to take Pittsburgh there. Then you got Washington and Boston. That series is tied 1-1 right now. I think they play again today or they play tomorrow. I said that it's going to be Washington in 7 games. It's a really close series. Both teams are pretty close to each other. A couple of injuries on each side. But at the end of the day, I still think Washington is the better team. Without Boston's first line, they're not that good. They got Taylor Hall. I think he's on the second line, but you shut down Boston's top 2 lines. I think Washington has more depth, and I feel like their defense is see, the goaltending situation for Washington, it's a little shaky right now. They didn't have Samsonov. Vitek Vanacek gets injured in the first game. Now they got Craig Anderson. Knowing that, with my predictions, honestly, if this happened before the series, I would have gone with Boston. But I'm still gonna stick with Washington because that's who I chose before, and I'm not a coward. But I also do think that Washington can pull off a series win against Boston. Boston isn't the same team that we saw a couple years ago. Pastrnak just was sort of invisible this year. Not invisible, but he wasn't. Last year, he should have won the Rocket. This year, he just wasn't. He wasn't that same pasta. So I'm just going to go with Washington. They usually get past the first round. It's usually the second round that they have trouble with. I'm going to stick with Washington there. Next up, it is the Central Division. So I'm going to stick. So we got Carolina versus Nashville. Very good series for Carolina because I got them sweeping Nashville in 4 games. Nashville is not the same team that we saw a couple years ago that went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like, keep in mind. But also, Carolina is really good. Like, they're one of the most complete teams. And there are, like, 3 teams that I think that are very complete teams. Carolina is one of them. They have a great defense, fantastic offense. They're getting solid goaltending this year. Not just, like, inconsistently solid goaltending. I'm talking about, like, solid goaltending from Nedeljkovic. I think that's his name. He's been really good this year as a rookie goaltender. They still have Reimer. They still have Mrazek. But I think that if Nedeljkovic, it's most likely going to be goaltender by committee again for Carolina like they did last year. But I still think that Nedeljkovic is, if he sticks in that, they got a chance winning with him. Then you got the best series in the in this year's playoffs, Tampa versus Florida. Whoa! I said it before. I was saying it before. If Tampa wins this series, it's not an upset. Tampa won the Stanley Cup last year. Florida was really good, but remember in the regular season, Tampa didn't have their stars. Whether this is legal or not in the NHL, it's something that happened. There's no rule saying that they shouldn't do this, so they did it. If you don't know what they did, Kucherov and Stamkos were basically out for the entire season and miraculously were completely healthy, ready for the playoffs. Whether that's legal or not, there's no rules saying that they can't do that. So I'm going to say that it's completely fine. Thing is, it's Tampa, and yeah, they got Kucherov and Stammer back just in time for the playoffs. And now they're beating Florida. I have that series going to 7 games. Right now, Tampa's leading 2-0. They won both games in Florida. Doesn't mean that it's over. I'm still going to say 7 games, even though it's looking like it can be a sweep. But I feel like right now it's looking like Florida can steal maybe 2 games, 1 or 2 games. But I'm still going to say Tampa in 7. Really good series if you're not watching that already, too. By the way, great series. Such a fun series to watch. Next up, we're going to let's do the Pacific Division on this side of the conferences. You got Colorado versus St. Louis. Nothing against St. Louis. This isn't the same St. Louis team that won the Stanley Cup a couple years ago. Excuse me. This isn't the same team that won the Stanley Cup in 2019. Colorado should easily beat St. Louis, barring, Jordan Binnington becoming Jordan Binnington again and stealing a couple games. But I'm going to take Colorado in the series. Yeah, there's like no way else to explain it. I said that there's maybe 3 complete teams in the AHL. Colorado's one of them. Colorado is definitely one of those teams that is very complete. They had 4 solid lines that you could throw out there. A great defense. Their goaltending can be shaky at times. Like after Grubauer, if Grubauer's not in net, Devin Dubnyk, he's a good backup option, but he's not the same Devin Dubnyk that basically dragged Minnesota to the playoffs a couple years ago. We're talking about a Devin Dubnyk that's not the same. He's going back. He's not looking like his days in Edmonton, but he's in the middle of his days in Edmonton versus his days in Minnesota, like his good days in Minnesota. So, other than the backup goaltending, there's even with Devin Dubnyk in net or any other goalie in net, Colorado should win the series without a doubt. St. Louis is good, but Tarasenko isn't the same. They have good young talent. They're missing Pietrangelo. They got Torrey Krug, but there's times that they just don't look like themselves. They look way too shaky. Jordan Binnington can be kind of inconsistent sometimes, but not inconsistent, but there's times that, yeah, I'll say he's just a little teensy-weensy inconsistent. But if he gets hot, he gets hot. That's all you need in the NHL. In the NHL playoffs is a hot goalie. But I'm going to take Colorado going to the second round, winning this series. I didn't think I said it yet. I had it in 6 games because I think that Jordan Binnington can steal a couple games for St. Louis, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them. Next up, it is Minnesota versus Vegas. This is the one upset that I have. Vegas, having one of the most complete teams, I think is going to get beat. Vegas is another team that is a very complete team in my eyes. But I think that they're going to get beat by Minnesota. This is going to be, I had it as a 7-game upset for Minnesota. They just played game 2 last night. This is another fun series to watch. The first game it was a 1-0 win for Minnesota. It was kind of a boring game because it's a 1-0 win, but at the same time, the goaltending was fantastic. Sorry, I should say it was boring on the score sheet wise. Fun to watch if you love a good goaltending matchup. Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury were phenomenal, especially Fleury with the saves that he was making. Phenomenal, this guy. Loved it. Love watching Fleury. But I still got Minnesota upsetting Vegas in 7 games. They were just a thorn in their side in the regular season. I know that the regular season doesn't matter for the playoffs. I don't know. I just think Minnesota knows how to beat them. I'm gonna take Minnesota. It's not that much of a thing of a hot take. Let's be real. I think that Minnesota. Well, it's kind of a hot take. I think Minnesota is gonna be able to beat them in 7 games. Next up, we're going to up north. We're gonna start off with 2-3 seeds, and that is Edmonton and Winnipeg. I got into an argument about this last night. Now, this isn't the same Winnipeg. Edmonton should beat them. Edmonton is going to beat them. Edmonton doesn't have the better goaltender, but they have the top 2 players, the best duo in the league probably, or in the future. Edmonton can win a series. McDavid can win you a series on his own. Having Draisaitl there, having Nuge, those 3 can win you a series on their own. Mike Smith has been really good for Edmonton. Surprisingly, he's looking like not the same, not his 2013 Phoenix Coyotes days when he took them to the Western Conference Final, but he looks good. He looks like a solid goaltender for them. Mikko Koskinen, on the other hand, stinks, but Mike Smith has been giving them pretty solid goaltending. They have a pretty good defense, but other than their top three wingers or top 3 forwards, they don't really have that good of a depth, and they usually have that problem with that. But I still think that they can steal a series against Winnipeg. Winnipeg can beat them if they do get their players back and healthy. If Nikolai Ehlers is back, Connor Hellebuyck can steal that series on his own, but from watching the games this year, I know, again, regular season doesn't matter, but I have to go off of something. I'm going to take Edmonton just because Hellebuyck hasn't been looking like... We're talking about 2021 Hellebuyck, not 2020 Vezina winning Hellebuyck. He didn't really look like Vezina winning Hellebuyck, unless it was against the Leafs, of course. But I'm going to take Edmonton. I had Winnipeg winning the series before, but barring everything, there's a lot that has to happen that you just at times didn't see happen this year. Like Hellebuyck has to be like Vezina winning Hellebuyck for Hellebuyck. Nikolai Ehlers has to be back. He's been an elite forward for them. He has to be back. Pierre-Luc Dubois has to be better. Like the way he was against they can beat Edmonton if Pierre-Luc Dubois is the Pierre-Luc Dubois from the bubble against the Leafs. If he's like that for Winnipeg, there's no stopping him. They can beat him, or they can beat Edmonton. But still, I have to go with my gut. I'm going to take Edmonton in this series. It's McDavid. If you can stop, there's not really many people that can stop McDavid. Sure, you stop McDavid, then you have to worry about stopping Draisaitl, and then you have to worry about stopping Nuge. And as much as I can say that you'd have to say the same thing with Winnipeg, you have to stop Scheifele, then you have to stop Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you have to stop Ehlers, and you have to stop this guy and that guy. You're going to be way too worried about stopping McDavid, and he can just burn you on your own. So I'm taking Edmonton. I'm going to take Edmonton in 6. Next up, for the last first round series, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs versus my least favorite team, because now I can say it without me wearing the jersey on. My least favorite team, the Montreal Canadiens. And they weren't my least favorite team at one point until this year. I got them winning the series in 5. It's looking like Carey Price and Brendan Gallagher are set to return. We don't know if Carey Price is starting game 1, but if you looking at the scratches, and I know I said I shouldn't be doing this up, but looking at the scratches that Montreal made, no Romanov for game 1, no Caulfield, and no Kotkaniemi. Jesperi Kotkaniemi isn't a great player, it can be a great player in the future. He's not one yet. Caulfield is on the way to already being a great player, and Romanov is a sturdy defenseman back there for them, and you're not playing them. 3 players with speed that you can use to stop the Leafs, and you're not playing them. I got the Leafs winning that series in 5. Easily. There's no way that they shouldn't win this series. I got them winning 5. I got Carey Price could be, if Carey Price is Carey Price in this series, that's scary to me. Of course, that's going to be scary to me. But this is still, there's no excuse for the Leafs to lose. I am those scars that I have from the past where the Leafs lost in the first round every single year that I have basically watched. The last time the Leafs won a series was in 2004. You think I was watching the games? You think I had the mental the mental span to sit down and watch hockey games? As much as I love hockey, back then I was too busy I'm pretty sure I was too ADHD back then to actually watch the games. This is the first time that I'm taking away all the scars from everything I know. This is the year that the Leafs have to win the first round. There's no excuse for them not to win. This isn't Montreal from 2016-2017. This isn't Carey Price from 2016-2017. We don't even know if Shea Weber is going to be playing in Game 1. He wants to play in Game 1, but we don't know if he will. Carey Price, it's not for sure if he's going to be playing in Game 1. Brendan Gallagher is just coming off an injury. There is no excuse for them to lose this game or lose this series. And we will find out tomorrow if I will be losing my mind or not. I will most likely be losing my mind. I am definitely going to be losing my mind. We just don't know how. That's it. Leafs in 5. No speaking on that anymore. There is no excuse for them to lose this series. There is no excuse for them to lose more than 2 games. I'm taking them in 5. Next up, going back to the other side of the conferences, Pittsburgh versus Washington. Great series that we love to watch every year, year in and year out. Washington usually loses them. The last time Washington lost to Pittsburgh won against the last time Washington beat Pittsburgh in the second round, they won the Stanley Cup. That's not going to be happening this year. I think Pittsburgh again Washington is going to be losing, or is going to be having fun with their demons, losing to Pittsburgh in Game 7 in their second round. That's what I got. Pittsburgh looks good this year again. They have better depth. Every year in and year out, they're going to have better depth than Washington. It all comes down to the goaltending, but if there's no Samsonov, which it's looking like right now that he's not playing right now, if there's no Samsonov, Pittsburgh has the better goaltender. If Tristan Jarry gets hot, Pittsburgh has the better goaltender. Of course, any goalie can get hot, but I think goaltender, Tristan Jarry is the better goaltender, barring Samsonov coming back. but then you still got the depth to deal with. I got Pittsburgh winning that series. Who is next? It is Carolina versus Tampa. Tampa's a really good team. They got their star players back, but Carolina is... Tampa is the fourth team that I was thinking about. That was the most complete team. This could be a very good series, Carolina versus Tampa. And I'm going to take Carolina in 7 games. It's two very complete teams going up against each other. I'm going to take Carolina. I just think Carolina is very good this year. They don't have the stars. Like, they don't have Kucherov versus... they don't have a Kucherov and Stammer. But I do think that Carolina, every year that they are basically in the playoffs, it's either they get knocked out in the first round or make it to the conference finals. I think this year they're going to the conference finals. They're not going to get knocked out in the second round. I'm taking Carolina. Back to the other side. So we got Toronto. No, sorry, I'm gonna do Pacific first or West. Colorado versus Minnesota. 2 rivals from the Central Division. I'm gonna take Colorado. No having to explain that there. It's Colorado versus Minnesota. I think that the Cinderella run is going to be over for Minnesota. I'm going to say it's Colorado in 5 games. Minnesota looks good, but they're not going to be able to compete with Colorado, who is way too complete of a team compared to Minnesota, who has a lot to do. Hey, Minnesota's a very fun team to watch this year. I just don't think they can beat Colorado. Next up, Toronto versus Edmonton. I'm kidding. I'm going to take Toronto. It's going to be Toronto in 7 games. It's going to be a fun series to watch. McDavid versus Matthews. The top McDavid scoring 100 points in 53 games. Matthews scoring 40 goals in 49 games. It's going to be a fun series to watch. I think that when it comes down to it, Toronto's depth is just so much better than Edmonton's. Yes, Edmonton has, when you compare player to player, McDavid versus Matthews, of course, McDavid is going to be better than Matthews. Is Leon Draisaitl better than Tavares? Yeah, maybe, I'd say. But look at the players around the top 2 centers. McDavid is usually playing with Draisaitl, or will sometimes be playing with Draisaitl or Nuge. But other than that, I don't even know the wingers most of the time. I know that Dominic Cahoon is on the wing of Draisaitl. They have Kailer Yamamoto, but other than that, I don't think both of those wingers can compare to the Toronto's wingers. Where Matthews is paired up, I got the jerseys right over here. The top line for Toronto is Matthews, Hyman, Marner. Then you got Tavares, Foligno, Nylander. Then you go to the third line where right now it's looking like it's going to be Riley Nash, Alexander Kerfoot, and Ilya Mikheyev. And then you got the fourth line, which is just a grumpy old man line with Spezza, Thornton, and Simmons. If you go line to line, if you look line to line, sure, the Leafs can beat them line to line. But as a team, with a complete team, if you're looking at the complete team, I think Toronto's got it. I think that Toronto has the better goaltender. I think that not the better defense, because I think that they have a little more. I don't know. I don't want to be too biased to Toronto. I'm not going to say that they have the better defense. Whether it's equal or Edmonton has the better defense, we'll see. But I think that Toronto, we'll see like going when that series does happen, because I know what's going to happen, or I think it's going to happen. I think that Toronto takes that series. It's going to be in 7 games. Toronto in 7, going to the conference finals for the first time since 2003, I think. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very nerve-wracking. Next up, we got the conference finals. Going back to the other conference, Pittsburgh versus Carolina. Got the Eastern Conference, the Metropolitan Division rivals going up against each other. It's tough to say. I'm going to take Carolina going to the Stanley Cup Finals in 7 games. Carolina, I think it's bound for them to happen. They're a young team. They're a very complete team. They have a good forward. They have good forwards. They have a great defense. Again, they have solid goaltending. I think that when it comes down to it, they don't have the depth that Pittsburgh does. They don't really have the experience that Pittsburgh does. I think that they can still do it, though. It's a hot take, but I think that Carolina is going to go to the Stanley Cup Finals in 7 games. Next up, but okay, hold on. Actually, now that I got the conference finals, I forgot to explain it. Like, I'm just giving an answer. I'm not like, it's hard to look at, like, you can look at the lines, whatever, but we haven't seen these teams play each other yet. So that's why it's tough for me to say. But I did choose Carolina to go in the Stanley Cup Finals in Pittsburgh against Pittsburgh in 7 games. But I'm just giving an answer. The first thing that comes off the top of my head is basically what I'm going to say, is because like we haven't seen the top 4 teams play each other yet in each conference. So it's tough to say. So if I say something and you don't agree with it, just let me know. Just let me know. If you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it. This is my opinion. Next up, going back to the other conference, you got the West Division champs in Colorado, who are also the President's Trophy winning champs. Or President's Trophy winners, and the North Division champs in Toronto. As much as I want to say Colorado, my heart is telling me for once to pick the Leafs in a way, not for once to pick the Leafs, but to actually believe in the Leafs. We haven't seen Colorado play Toronto yet. We haven't seen Toronto play Colorado yet. Same way we didn't see Pittsburgh versus Carolina. This thing is shaking. Stop shaking. I just hit it. Shit. I'm going to take Toronto. I'm going to say it's going to be in 7 games. It's going to be a tough series for Toronto, of course. I think it's going to be a lot of 1-goal games. But I think Toronto's going to pull it off. This is their year. They're way too good this year. They have way too much veteran leadership. They have Joel Thornton and Spets on the team that needs to win a cup. I'm going to take Toronto in 7 games. Not much else to say. This is the year that they have to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Next up, Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to be Toronto versus Carolina. It's going to be a fun series. James Reimer facing his old team. It's not going to be. I don't think he's going to be the starter, but got James Reimer back in Toronto, or back against Toronto. I don't know if it's going to be taking place in Toronto. It's going to be tough to say, but I'm going to say that like this is the year that I actually believe it. I'm going to knock on wood. I'm not going to knock on the table, because last time I knocked on the table, it went bad. I'm going to take it. I'm going to say it. Toronto, it's going to be in 7 games. It's going to be an overtime win in Game 7. I think this is the year that they can do it. And, of course, I'm going to pick Toronto. Look at my background. Of course, there's a bit of a Leaf bias. But I feel like they can do it. I think that they can do it this year. Carolina, they can win. This is the year Carolina can win the Stanley Cup too. Carolina is... I have like a few Stanley Cup favorites. It's Toronto, Colorado, and Carolina. Those are basically my Stanley Cup favorites, and they're all in the conference finals. I'm just gonna pick Toronto because I think that they can pull it off. Again, in the playoffs, it's weird. It's the hottest team that's gonna win. The team with the hottest goalie, with the hottest player, they win. So until we get to the Stanley Cup final, we're not gonna. Until we see a champion, we're not gonna know. So if you hate my opinion, go right ahead. You can hate my opinion all you want. I don't care. I'm picking the Leafs. Go Leafs, go. Anyways, that's all for this week. Hold on. Excuse me. Oh my God, I'm surprised I didn't stop the recording. Oh, allergy season is among us. That's all for this week. You can follow me on at Bonavoda on Instagram, at Leading the Pack Pod on Instagram, at Bonavoda at Bonavoda _ with the capital B on Twitter. Take your allergy medication. I forgot to I forgot to this morning. Yeah, that's all for this week. I'll talk to y'all later. Ci vediamo. Why can't I remember how to say Tuesday? It's not Tuesday that I record. Am I going nuts? I'm really going nuts. I can't remember if it's mercoledì e martedì. Ci vediamo dopo. I'll see y'all next week on Wednesday. Excuse my Italian, because wow, that sucked. can't believe I can't remember if it's mercoledì or martedì. But I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully I remember the days in Italian. Ci vediamo mercoledì. Be safe. Take your allergy medication. Have fun with the playoffs. I'll see y'all later. I want to get the hell out of here. Ciao.